The room was a large loading bay filled with 20 to 30 black bots frozen in the motion of reaching the back wall with murderous intent. There, her fingers outstretched and shaking, was a middle-aged woman, crouched and wincing against the oncoming tide of metallic violence. Tears, terror, and absolute horror streaked her face as it shook with overbrimming emotion. The Nails girl stood behind the frozen bots with her hands clamped to the side of her head in utter chaotic dismay. Behind her, Tape Deck and Shadwell towered, both looking back to Diaz as he arrived, hoping for an order. Diaz froze too as he took in the deadly scene. The bots were in various stages of attack or lunging close to the woman to initiate one. They twitched, servos overworking, and even a couple of sparks ignited and spat into the still air. They were fighting against some kind of programming to get to the woman, their internal systems overclocked to find a way around some invisible barrier to execute their directives. Diaz stepped between his crewmates, the human in him instinctively moving towards Nails to make contact. He lifted a hand to gently place it on her shoulder when the room suddenly erupted. Smashed like a dam, the invisible wall suddenly vanished. A tide of solid metal and bludgeoning fury instantly burst into motion towards the cowering woman. "Execute Marion Vaughn directive!" she screamed with a crackling, wailing voice, and instantly the room stilled again. The woman looked up, her face a gaunt image of heartbreak and desolation. She looked at Nails. "I can't hold them," she said, just above a whisper. Nails opened her mouth. Multiple questions jostled with fear and sorrow, but nothing came out. "I'm sorry," the woman said. 2 words with infinite depth and authenticity. Tears ran down her face. Nails stepped forward. "But I'm sorry," the desperate woman repeated. Then she looked at Diaz and swallowed. It was as hard and painful a swallow as he'd ever witnessed. "Get her away!" she screamed, one hand pointing out beyond the building they were in. Diaz's hand landed on the girl's shoulder and pulled gently. She was understandably rooted to the spot. "Away!" the woman screamed again and sobbed, grief now pouring from her eyes. Diaz nodded once at Tape Deck, and the bot scooped up Nails and made for the exit. "No!" the girl screamed, suddenly flaring into frantic motion, flailing at the steadfast metal arms that held her. She screamed continually until her voice and the air that powered it ran dry. The crewmates fled the scene, Tape Deck remaining in the lead despite his thrashing burden. They picked their way out of the cluttered corridors with new energy and purpose, each of them aware of the tortured pain emanating from Nails as they carried her away from the doomed woman. They descended 2 floors. By the time that awful sound carried to them, the crash of hundreds of metal limbs swinging at their target, nobody said a word, each content to just keep running until they reached the MTV.